So hi, kumusta? Kumusta ang pagiging Catholic? Kumusta ang pagiging Christian? Kumusta ang pagiging servant leader sa church today? Napakahirap, no? Bakit? Siguro sa tinatawag nating digitalization. You know, one quick story. Noong 2016, kami ni Jinky, yung wife ko of 31 years, we established a page called He Said, She Said PH on Facebook. The main reason or objective for doing so is really for us to be able to reach out to a lot of people na nahihirapan mag-filter ng information, no? Most especially advice. So our first niche was relationship advice. Then became career, about life in general, no? And fast forward, nagulat kami 2 years later, after around 100,000 followers, we noticed napakadami pala talaga ng nangangailangan, no? Nangangailangan ng ganyang tulong, o ng at least na advice. And we noticed the memes themselves become the advice. So what if there was lack of deeper or some spiritual meaning to the advice, di ba? Saan sila pupunta? At saan sila pupulutin? And today, the page continues. So we're over 470,000. We have that much in terms of followers. And our mission continues. As servant leaders in the church, yun ang nakita namin. Kailangan updated ka rin, no? And it's really a challenge for us not to be part of this digitalization of practically everything. So, but first, let's start. Who is a servant leader in today's church? And how do we more or less update ourselves or be in touch with what's happening? So, let's go through this presentation. Okay, maiksi lang. Let's go? Okay. So, you know, I just identified 6 things that a servant leader should have in today's church. So let me take you with one reading from Mark chapter 9, verse 35, which says, sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all. So this is the basis of being a servant leader. Basic. Yan muna tayo, no? So, ito yung servant leader. Pero, ano ba talaga ang dapat ginagawa ng isang servant leader? Di ba? How to be you po. Okay, so number 1, you have to be motivated by love. Okay. From John chapter 13, verse 1 to 2, this is what it says. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own, who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The key words, he loved them to the end. You know, as servant leaders, napakahirap gumalaw pag walang pagmamahal sa gagawin natin. And that's a very foundation of service. It's love. Hindi naman pwedeng gumawa ka ng isang bagay na gusto mo lang. Dapat mahal mo kasi otherwise, magiging trabaho lang siya. No? Ganun talaga. And thus, the objective is for us to serve with love. Hirap, no? Kasi the basis itself is love. So the action step. Begin your day reflecting on the love you have for others in your life. Okay. Ano ibig sabihin nun? You know, pagising na umaga, dapat puno-puno ka ng pag-ibig eh. Kasi pag labas mo ng bahay mo, actually, hindi ka na nga kailangan lumabas eh. Pag mag-Zoom meeting ka pa lang. And as a servant leader, dapat punong-puno ka ng pag-ibig kasi you will be serving. Otherwise, kung hindi maganda ang disposition mo, doon pa lang talo na. No? It's no longer service. Okay. Next. Number 2, be confident and self-assured. Let me read from John chapter 13, verse 3. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. You know, yung feeling na gano'n, no, na si God nasa likod mo. Diba? Nandito lang siya. Because you know na kahit anong gagawin mo, may blessing ng Panginoon. And the objective for us is to be assured, that whatever we do as a servant leader, God has that confidence in us. Diba? Ang ganda yun pag malaki ang kumpiyansa ng boss mo, di ba, sa'yo. So, masipag kang gagawa. So, the action step for us is to develop the confidence and security to take risks. Alam nyo, yun ang minsan mahirap sa isang leader, sa isang servant leader. Yung bang denumero, takot na takot mag-take ng risk. And you know what? What if we were not able to adapt to social media in terms of evangelization? Naunahan na tayo ng kalaban. Tawag nila, huli na sa pansitan. Okay? Para sa mga Gen X. Okay. Number 3. Seek constant wisdom, discernment, and clarity. So, tatlo po lagi yan. No? Wisdom, because of course, we have to seek wisdom from God and discern, which is the second one. Ano ba talaga yung sinasabi ng Panginoon? At kung na-discern mo na at hindi ka sure, seek clarity from God. And this is from Philippians chapter 4, verse 12 to 13. It says, "For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." And yun po, ang punot dulo na naman, babalik pa rin tayo sa Panginoon. Because it is God who gives us wisdom, discernment, and clarity. And our objective should be constantly guided by God in everything that we do. No? And we have to seek first to understand than to be understood. Humility rin yan no? It has something to do with humility wherein ang hirap kasi na uunahan natin. Alam mo yung, alam ko na yan. Hindi pa nga siya tapos, may sagot ka na. Hindi dapat ganun. Diba? Because in today's generation, feeling nila you always second guess them. Yun eh. Actually, even sila na-google ko na yan. I-google ko na lang. But through prayers and knowing that is God who is all-knowing, who will give us all of these things for us to be able to understand the people we serve. So we need God for that, diba? Guidance from Him. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is to develop empathy. Okay, let me read from Romans chapter 12, verse 15. It says, "Be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who weep." Sadly, in today's world, napakadami pong ganyan. Wala nang pakialam. Diba? Bahala ka. Kasi ako may sarili ng problema But as servant leaders, we have to understand, diba? Kailangan, hindi lang to understand. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. Sa katayuan, sa posisyon nila. Kasi paano nga naman natin sila maintindihan? Kung umiiyak sila, ikaw tumatawa. Sa deep inside, you don't even have to show it, diba? Pero kung naiintindihan natin, bakit ka ba umiiyak? Bakit ka ba tumatawa? Bakit ka ba masaya? For all you know, masaya siya sa labas. Pero sa loob, umiiyak siya. But how will we know that if we are not putting ourselves in their position? So our objective is to see people through the eyes of Jesus. Iba yung mata ng Panginoon Malalim. Sees to the soul. And that is a gift that we need to ask from God. And we have to be able to visualize ourselves always doon sa kanilang position. Always in their position, not from our perspective, sa kanilang perspective. Now, let's go to number 5. Number 5, as a servant leader, we have to be a teacher. Kailangan marunong din tayo magturo. Kasi minsan, daktak na tayo, daktak. Pero yung positioning ng isang guro, iba. And okay, let me read from John chapter 13, verse 12. It says, "When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I have done for you?" He asked them. Tinanong din ng Panginoon, naintindihan niyo ba kung anong ginawa ko sa inyo? Maybe to be a teacher may not just be communicating verbally. Alam niyo, masayang parte ng pagiging teacher is to be able to communicate through example. Hindi ba? Yung mga teachers, ganyan. Mas natututo tayo pag mayroong mga examples. So, what is our objective? It is for us to develop more servant leaders. That's why we need to teach. be able to teach. You know, seeking the growth of others is important, and more so when we're able to have more servant leaders. Wala naman sa posisyon yun eh. Oh, baka hindi na ako magiging servant leader, baka sila na. Well and good. Sa totoo lang, we need millions, maybe even a billion of servant leaders to communicate God's love to others. Kung kailangan yon, baka ikaw lang magturo ng 1,000,000, winner na tayo. But in reality, even if you just multiply yourself once, makaturo ka lang ng isang servant leader, panalo na tayo sa Panginoon. So, let's go to number 6. In relation to being a teacher, we have to live a blessed life. You know, integrity is important, right? More so in becoming a servant leader, kailangan may integrity ka, di ba? From John 13 verse 16 to 17, it says, "Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." Okay? Ano sinasabi dito? A blessed life is a life lived with absolute humility na hindi natin kaya kung wala ang Panginoon. If we don't have Jesus as the real source of the message, then baliwala lahat yan as a servant leader. Kasi tayo, messenger lang tayo. We will never be greater than the one who gave us that message. So intindihin natin yun. Na hindi tayo magaling. Si Jesus lang ang magaling. Si God lang ang magaling. Dahil lahat ng gifts natin, all our talents and everything that we have, sa Kanya naman ang galing yan eh. So, yun ang kailangan natin. Now, our objective in this case is now even harder. Why? Because our objective is to be like Jesus. Dahil siya rin, humble din siya eh. Panginoon na nga eh. He even showed humility many times. Followed the will of the Father. And when we walk our talk, when we serve in integrity, it is almost being like Jesus. Doon pa lang nasa-start na yan. Because wisdom happens when we are humble enough. Now, let me share to you 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 to 8. This is where it says love is patient and kind. Up to love never fails. Now, what I would want to read you is that if I replace love with I, because this is how we start, or this is our very foundation as a servant leader. Let me read. I am patient. I am kind. I do not envy. I do not boast. I am not proud. I am not rude. I am not self-seeking. I am not easily angered. I keep no record of wrongs. I do not delight in evil, but rejoice with the truth. I always protect, always trust, always hope, always persevere. I never fail to love. So, nag-umpisa tayo sa love. As a servant leader, dapat punong-puno tayong love. At the end of the day, we still should show our love to our brethren. So, sa dulo, if we forget all of these things, there's one question that we have to ask ourselves when we're faced with any challenge, in being servant leaders. What would Jesus do? Yun lang. Tanungin lang natin, ano kayang gagawin ni Jesus sa pagkakataon na to? Pag nakalimutan natin lahat, yun lang. And we're already done. Di ba? So, to end this brief talk, I would ask you to ask yourselves today to level up our service in the church. What do you think would Jesus do today? Thank you, and may God be praised. God bless you, and have a great day.